what is protein,
Literally.
why protein. I think that's actually a really good place to start. So, we get told and we hear you need to eat more protein. You got to eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight, or whatever other number they're telling us. Or maybe read an article that says, no, that's overstated. It's like half that amount. So I think, again, maybe we just take a step back and we understand what protein is in the body and how it maybe changes for us over our lifetime and different needs that we have for it. And I think that might just empower everyone to think for themselves a little bit and be more diligent in how they listen to all these folks talking to them. When we eat food, there's micronutrients, things like vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff. That's why oftentimes we're told to eat things like fruits and vegetables. There's also fiber. There's a lot of good things in them, but that's one of the main reasons why we eat food. Another big piece, though, is these things called macronutrients. And I'm keeping it really simple just because I think it's helpful. So if you're hearing me say this, you're like, I know what a macronutrient is. But really just hang with me because I think it's important to get these key differences. So of them, we talk about carbohydrates, we talk about fat, and we talk about protein primarily. And protein is very, very different from carbohydrates and fat. The primary role of carbohydrates is energy, and a major role of fat is energy. Fat also helps build our cells, et cetera. But really the reason why we eat carbohydrates and fat is to fuel our bodies. And if you can think about your body like a house, and I'm looking at you right now, and I know in the background there are lights that have to be run. There's, whatever else is going on in the studio. If someone's at home, they've got a dishwasher, a clothes washing machine, et cetera. All of those have to be powered. In the same way, we have to move our muscles, we have to beat our heart, we have to think, and all of that requires energy. And so for your house, you get it powered with maybe energy from the grid that you buy from your local energy company, or from a generator if the power goes out, maybe solar panels, et cetera. Maybe natural gas comes in to run your stove. So in a similar way, we're eating carbohydrates and we're eating fat as two different sources. Maybe you think, kind of electricity from the grid and a natural gas to burn inside of our body so we can move and do things. And I think lots of times people think because protein's in the same conversation as those, like that's why you eat protein. That is not why you eat protein. Less than 10% of protein is used for like energy. Mm-hmm. The reason why you eat protein is to maintain your body. So if you think about your house is also built of things, right? It's like built of wood and metal and nails and paneling and ceramic tiles, et cetera. And all of those are made of kind of smaller materials, grains of sand, et cetera. Well, our bodies are all, a huge portion of them is made up of proteins. Over 50% of your bone mass, all your vital organs, your muscle, your skin, your hair, your nails, and less obvious things like hormones. Your actual hormones are made up of proteins. The enzymes in your body are made up of proteins. All of these are made up of these building blocks called proteins. And in the same way that in our house, things don't last forever. Eventually, like the ceramic tile wears out. Eventually, the carpet has to be replaced. At some point, you need to repaint the walls. Well, that's how proteins function in our body. And right now inside my body, if I look down at like my skin, it's made up of these millions of proteins. And inside your body, whoever's listening right now, you look at your arm, there are proteins in your skin right now that are older relative to each other. And they're not as good as they used to be, and they've become degraded. And so your body is saying, hey, let's break down this old skin protein and let's replace it with a new one. Similar to, you look around at your house and you're like, oh my gosh, like that trim has like been broken and we've been needing to fix it. We finally need to fix it. Or maybe you want to remodel your bathroom, right? And so maybe you look at your body and you're like, I want to like remodel, I want to change my body composition. I want to build more muscle or do something different with it. Well, for that, you're going to need protein. And so this little skin protein right now is breaking apart. And what's happening is inside of that protein, there are all these little things called amino acids. Amino acids are the little pieces that make up the protein. And some of them are old and like really can't be reused. And so you're like literally going to pee them out. Some of the amino acids, though, can be kept and they can be reused to make a new skin protein or moved throughout the body to make a new enzyme protein or hormone protein. In the same way that in your house, maybe you're thinking about redoing your bathroom and you're like, you know what, actually, there's this really cool old clawfoot tub and I want to keep that. right? But the tile is just terrible. We got to get rid of it, So in a similar way, you keep some of the pieces and you get rid of some of them. And so what you immediately notice is if you rip up all the tile in your bathroom, you need more tile. Like, like otherwise you're just going to have a bare floor. Similarly, when that skin protein breaks down, you're deficient now. Like you need new amino acids to help rebuild that protein. That is why we eat protein in our diet. When we eat a chicken breast or eat quinoa or eat any of these things, we digest them. The amino acids go into our blood and they literally rebuild our vital organs, our bones, our hormones, our enzymes, our hair, our nails, our muscle. So like that is why this whole the craze around protein exists. It's really that important.
That is mind-blowing to me because we really only hear about protein for muscle protein synthesis, right? We think we have to eat, whether it's, whether you subscribe to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body mass or whatever it is, but we have to eat protein to rebuild our muscles and so we don't lose muscle, right? I've never really heard about it in the way that you've just described it, meaning that we need it to regenerate even the smallest parts of our body. And so it actually reminds me, this morning, right here on my shoulder, I have an injury, and I burnt myself this morning with the curling iron, and it's literally bubbly. So you're saying now my skin that's breaking down in here could be regenerated if I eat more protein?
Yes, it's maybe even slightly more nuanced. Whether you burned yourself or not, the proteins in your skin are going to need to be rebuilt. They're going to be not as effective as they used to be. They're going to need to be rebuilt. Then if you injure yourself, and this is actually a great introduction to why you might want more protein in your diet, why you might want more essential amino acids specifically. Basically, that portion of your body is undergoing this very specific stress, and it needs even more protein and more amino acids than it would typically need in order to rebuild it, right? It's not just the normal skin, it's this damaged skin. And so you need even more protein and even more amino acids when you are under stress. On top of that stress affects the use of the protein and amino acids throughout your body. And the more stress you're under, the more protein and amino acids you particularly need in general, not just for that one section of your body, but even for other sections of your body.
So pretty much, is it just like you lose it, you replace it, you lose it, you replace it? Is it that simple?
This actually maybe ties back into why is muscle always the focus when we talk about protein synthesis? The way that human biology works, it's really cool, is that when you eat more food and more calories than you need in a day, more than you move, then your body will store a lot of those excess calories as fat. And we don't like this as modern humans, right? Who are consuming too much food and we're trying to lose it, right? We don't want to be overweight. But it's a mechanism through which, if you're in a situation where you have access to a bunch of food, your tribe, your family just killed an animal and you can eat it all, but then maybe you don't have food for a couple of days, you can kind of live off of it for a longer period of time. So that's how we store energy. We actually store energy in our body via this fat. Well, if we need amino acids to help rebuild all these proteins in our body, our heart tissue is going to need to be rebuilt tomorrow. And just for example, the liver proteins associated with the liver, there's a 30% turnover every day. 30% of them have to be rebuilt every day. Whereas with muscle, it's 1 to 2%. It's much lower. So there's this huge need to rebuild proteins associated with the liver, to rebuild heart tissue, skin, all of these things. Well, what happens if you go without food? What happens if you go without any protein for a while? Where does your body get it from? It gets it from your muscle. Your muscle is the reservoir of amino acids to help rebuild the proteins in your body, and not in exactly the same way, but in a parallel way to the way that fat mass is like a reservoir of energy for your body. And so if you do not eat enough protein, and you don't kind of re-stimulate this process of replacing the old proteins with new ones, which is what happens when you eat essential amino acids, then what's going to happen is you're actually going to start to eat away at your muscle. And that's what happens if you undergo surgery and you're under bed rest for a long time. Or as we age, we can get more to that, the stress physiology of aging, you start losing muscle. Or if you go into some kind of aggressive weight loss program where you're cutting calories, but you're not thinking really crucially about your protein and your essential amino acid intake, what's going to happen is you start losing muscle, a lot of muscle. So It's not a simple in and out. It is the case that if you eat a sufficient amount, then you can maintain it. You can maintain the proteins, maintain the muscle. But if you don't, you'll start to break down muscle to support all the other functions of your body.